Today we're going to talk about metered water softening systems. Old water softeners used to work off of a time clock, and they may regenerate every Sunday night or Monday night depending on how they were set up. That could be really inefficient because they're going to regenerate regardless of whether you use 1,000 gallons or you use 2,000 gallons or you use 200 gallons. So we went to what's called a meter-based softener. A meter-based softener is going to count the gallons that's actually used through the system. So we make sure that we get all the use out of the resin bed prior to regeneration. So with that being said, if that metering system is not working, then the system doesn't think it's using water, so therefore it doesn't regenerate. So that's another common problem that can come up whenever we have a situation where we've lost soft water. So today we're going to talk about how to troubleshoot that. There's a couple different things that could cause that. If it's not counting gallons, for one, maybe the water that you're actually using isn't going through the system, because that is a possibility. A lot of times kitchen cold will be hard water, outside spigots will be hard water, so make sure you're at an actual faucet that is going through the softener. Sometimes the best thing to do is go to a bathroom, because it's more likely that those would be treated to the softener. Now, if you look, most softeners are going to have what's called a Hall effect cable that comes through the back for a meter. Now, there's some different types of meters depending on what type of system you have and different ways of checking it. On the clack valve, they actually have a meter you can remove with a turbine that you can physically spin to check and see if it's working. For these Hall effect meters, which are more of like Fleck and then our particular model, the Fusion NLT, there's usually a clip underneath here that you got to kind of pop over, and you can pull this Hall effect cable out. Now, I don't know if you can see that, if you can zoom in on it there, but there's a little nub here that you actually have to push over to push this thing out. But this particular cable, like I said, is called the Hall effect cable, and what it is there's a turbine that's in here that when the water comes in, it spins that turbine, and as that turbine spins past here, it has metal contacts. So when those metal contacts hit here, it actually creates AC voltage, which is converted to a flow rate. So another common problem is the actual turbine isn't turning. Something got thrown up in there, maybe solder or possibly some glue or some piping material, or maybe you just got an influx of sediment, you know. Even if you're on city water, sometimes they can flush a line or something, and the next thing you know, you get a bunch of dirt that comes up in here. So I'm going to show you how you can troubleshoot whether or not you actually have an electronics problem, or if you probably just have a meter problem in here. In some cases, the contacts may even be worn or corroded, and that could cause you to have an actual problem with counting gallons. So with that being said, we can check this system using a magnet, a common magnet that you would have in your home, like on a refrigerator or something like that. By running a magnet across this particular part of the Hall effect cable, you're going to show some sort of flow rate on your system. Our particular system uses an actual flow rate value. Some systems may just have a little drip or a symbol that'll blink when the water's running. So you kind of got to know what type of system you have to know what you're looking for on this screen. Again, ours is a flow rate, so we can go scroll through our parameters until we get to current flow rate. And you can see our current flow rate is 0. So if we take a magnet and run across this Hall effect cable, you can see it's reading 0.1, 0.3. I mean, it may read 1 gallon per minute. The fact that it's reading it all lets us know that this cable and the electronics are okay. If you couldn't get a reading that way, then that's where we would move to taking this apart and checking the connection of this cable, or possibly suspecting a bad control board. Now, if you have this with a magnet and then we plug it back in and we turn on a known treated water source, but yet we still do not see a flow rate here, then that would be when we would take this turbine apart and check and make sure it's free spinning. This turbine, literally, if you blow in there and it starts spinning, it'll spin for probably 15-20 seconds afterwards. It free spins really, really well. So if you have flow rate with a magnet, but you don't have a flow rate when you put it back into your meter assembly, then you can assume that either your turbine is stuck and it's not turning, or there's bad contacts. So remember, if it's a metered water softener, the meter has to be working or it's not going to regenerate. If you have a daily override on your system, then it may regenerate based off of that, but a lot of times that's going to be 10 days out. So you may have went way over your system's capacity before that kicks in. So the first thing that we always do when we start to troubleshoot is we check that meter, because if that meter's not working, then it's not necessarily anything else wrong with the system. There's just nothing triggering the system to regenerate. So that's how we do a magnetic check on a Hall effect cable.